Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Brittany, and in today's video I'm going to continue working with that leather traveler notebook journal that I made with you guys in a previous video. And it's what I'm going to be using to kick off and start my geocaching interpretive urban sketching series with you guys. And I just wanted to show you that in addition to making a travel journal, you can also make your own inserts for a travel notebook. And I'm going to be using a couple different resources, and mostly the cover of the insert, I usually use a cardstock. And just to differentiate between the different types of paper that I'm going to be using and filling them with, I'm going to use different colors of cardstock. So while I get my camera focused here, um, this is going to be another voiceover video, and I'll try to keep my dialogue in sync with what I'm doing in the video as much as possible. So practicing my video editing skills here. So the papers that I've selected for the inserts I'm going to make with you today are an ivory like copy paper. There is a kind of whitish gray sketch paper, and then the other one is like a bright white printing paper that's usually used for like printing in vivid color. And I like that paper for my inserts because it is 32 pounds, and the brightness of the white really shows up with like Tombow dual tip markers, or if you're using like a fine liner or anything where you're drawing, it really pops on that. So the drawing paper I use more for like my graphite sketches, kind of like what I do in my Sketchin' Sundays video. Um, and then the ivory paper is just a thin copy paper. And I always like to have an insert in my travel notebooks, regardless of whatever notebook I'm using, whether it's junk journal or where I, go on day trips or whatever. I always like to have at least one insert of a light copy paper for note taking. It's also someplace where I jot down my ideas or things that I've seen that I like and maybe want to circle back to in a journal entry, or sometimes I will sketch on it, but I like to have something where I can just kind of like doodle something real quick or make notes to self, maybe put some directions if I get lost. So I'm going to make one with that. But as I said before, I'm going to differentiate between them with different colors of cardstock. And I do have a white or off-white grayish type cardstock. And then I'm going to use a black cardstock and a Kraft or brownish cardstock. So similarly to when I was making the leather cover for the geocaching journal, I made a template for my paper. So when I make my inserts, what I do is I try to cut my insert papers and cover down at least 1/4 of an inch from what my cover is going to be, and that just ensures that they fit very nicely in there. Now, when you fold your inserts, because they're not typically like signatures that you would make in, like, say, a regular book, they tend to be more chunky because they have more pages. You will get some offhang on the edge of the insert, and that's because as you fold a larger quantity of papers into one signature, some of the papers will naturally get pushed back and shortened. So, in other words, your center page is going to be your longest because it is folded at true center, and your exterior or outer pages are going to be your shorter pages because they are wrapped around all the other ones. And to combat that, you can just use less pages use a lighter weight paper so that it doesn't get as bulky, or you can do what I'm going to do and trim at the end. I don't always trim that though because I kind of like how it looks sometimes, especially if I have torn the paper instead of cut it. You get that nice little deckled edge, but you can definitely do however you like. Inserts for me for travel notebooks are very personal, and that's why I like to make mine also, because similarly to how I was telling you guys when I made the leather cover, I felt boxed in with the inserts that are available from like the major stationery companies, and I like things that I can decorate or that I can put my artwork on rather than just having something that's uniform and readily available for anybody. And I know that it's convenient, like say for Travelers Company, how they have their inserts and other items numbered. So whenever you run out, you can just conveniently go back and order again. But I like mine to be different. I tend to gravitate towards things that I can customize or make my own. So with this black cardstock, I'm probably going to go in with some gel pens and just like doodle all over it, or I might put stickers on it. With the brownish or craft paper that I'm pulling out now, I think I'm going to use black liners on it because I think it would be contrasting to have black doodle lines all over it. I haven't figured out what design I'm going to put on it yet, but of course you guys will see it in future videos, excuse me. And then with my off-white or light gray um, cardstock for that insert, I think I might just do pic or not pictures, but come to think of it, that's a good idea though. Stickers, because I have an abundance of stickers right now. So I'm just kind of collaging with them and putting them on pen pal letters, putting them in some pen pal letters so other people can enjoy them. And I think that the white one might be nice to decorate with that. But I accidentally mentioned putting photos on it, and that could be something you could do to personalize yours. I might actually do that when I make some future ones when these ones get filled. I have a little Canon Ivy 2 printer, and you can pick out different settings when you print the photo stickers with that machine. And one of them that I like is like the little 4-box collage one, and then I just clip them out. Excuse me. Because they're a nice little size that usually fits very well in my journal. So that could be cool, decorating them that way. And then the other thing that I sometimes do, and I think I mentioned this in my video when I was doing the leather cover, is sometimes I print on the cardstock. So I have a Silhouette Portrait 3 machine, and I use the business edition software for designing stickers, labels. I've made stationery in it, all sorts of things. And it's really nice to use to like make an image and then print it onto, whatever type of paper you want. And I have made inserts like for the ones that I have in my Shopify store. I have bought the licenses for images and printed inserts covers for those ones. So I think one says like let's lay out under the stars, or one that I just used text for was I said something like find joy in the journey. But you could do whatever you wanted. I mean, if you have a printer and even Word document you can design in, or like the paint program that comes with Windows. There's all types of things you could do. If you have a scanner, you could draw something or paint something and scan it in and then print it onto the cardstock. Maybe you have like a patch on a bag or a jacket or something that you really like and you think it would be cool to put on your insert. Just scan it in, put it on your scanner, and then print it off onto the cardstock. So there are different ways to decorate them, and to assemble the insert, I'm just going to do the pamphlet stitch that I have shown in previous videos. This is one of the easiest stitching methods, I think, for small little projects like this. I use them to create inserts. I use it to create my art challenges. Um, it's quick and simple. And there are lots of variations. You could use less holes, you could use more holes. But you see, I didn't even measure where the holes are. These, I don't feel like have to be measured, especially since they're going to get used so much and they'll probably fill up fast and then they'll be archived. But you can do whatever you like whenever you're creating your inserts. Don't feel restricted. Just have fun with it. And I think something else that would be really fun for creating your covers is like if you have children or like a niece or nephew, like give them the cardstock and a box of crayons or markers or whatever, and just let them draw whatever they want. And then um, you would have that artwork. Something that I've been thinking about doing for like the books that I make is I'm currently participating in the February pink eraser carving challenge. And I'm thinking about when I get done with that, scanning all of my eraser carvings into my computer, editing them, cleaning them up, whatever, and then like sporadically placing them on the paper and then printing it as like end papers for books. Or I might even print it on cardstock and make a cover for an insert or even a cover for a book. There's all different things that you can do. Just don't feel limited. But something else that you might want to do if you don't want to do cardstock, you could do maybe like fabric paper. And I think I am going to do a video with you guys creating fabric paper because this was something that I learned from one of the clubs that I belong to. And I think that it's an undervalued technique for making book covers. You can just do so many things. And there's actually a Hobonichi cover or pencil pouch that has a beautiful pattern on it. I would absolutely love it for my Hobonichi Techo, but I have already selected my 2024 and my 2025 Hobonichi Techo covers. So I was thinking about trying to make something similar of that fabric pattern with the fabric paper for a book cover. And I thought about recording it with you guys. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure to follow along with my channel so that you can be updated whenever that video drops. Now, something that I have done a lot on this channel when I make this pamphlet stitch style book is I put my knot on the outside of the book. And I always say that I do that so that I can add like beads or charms to the spines of my books. However, with an insert, that's not really going to be effective because the spine of your insert is going to be up against the back of your leather cover and you're not going to see it. If I were to add beads or charms to one of these, for example, it would just bulk up my leather cover. The edges of my inserts would probably be pushed out of the leather cover protection because they would take up space in the spine and it wouldn't work out. But I still put the knot on the outside of my black insert, my black covered insert, so that you see that that's an option. Um, some people, and even I've noticed too, as I'm writing in my inserts and filling them up, that having the knot on the outside is convenient when you get to the center of the book because it makes it easier to write. I mean, yes, you have the string that you have to work around if you're working on a full spread, piece of art or journal entry, but it's not as bulky with the strings of the knot. And on the black insert as well, I did the exterior knot and I showed you what like how you can tie on if you have like run out of string, you don't have enough string. So for that, I tied on the inside. So it actually has a knot on the inside and on the outside. For this white one, I'm doing the same thing. I've made sure I have enough string this time, and I'm tying the knot on the outside. But I think I'm going to do something different for the Kraft one and show you how to sew with the knot on the inside, just so you get a taste for, how to tie on if you run out of string, how to do an external knot, and how to do an internal knot. It's essentially the same stitching pattern, you're just reversing your initial stitch. And there I'm demonstrating how you can press down your thread. Um, the bone folder is helpful if you want to press down the thread if you have waxed thread. So I am using a waxed linen thread as I'm stitching these. I've not had much success using any type of pressing method for getting those to stay down. I've seen other book artists do that successfully, and maybe I'm just not using enough pressure. I don't know, but my tails never seem to stay down, waxed or not. So I just try to cut them really short. And I am using an awl to punch my holes, and I'm not using a punching cradle. I have two punching cradles. Um, I do use them for certain projects, but for these quick little easy things, I just use either styrofoam as you see here, or I'll take some kids foam and just cut a strip of that to put under my book that I'm punching or my signatures that I'm punching. And if you notice with especially this Kraft one, there is overhang from the cover and the pages, but don't worry about that. We'll get that trimmed up here at the end of the video. So yeah, I was telling you guys about the erasers, and it's coming along pretty well. The reason why I like to do these monthly art challenges is because I like to see how my art evolves and how my skills progress as I continue to practice it. But doing the art projects on top of my 2024 journaling systems is a little bit challenging because in addition to my journaling systems and my art challenges, I'm also trying to make new books. And then, of course, I was inspired by another art challenge that is opening up soon, which is the 100-day project, which I have never participated in before. And there are so many ideas that I thought about, like what I should focus that on. And one of them was I should make a different book every day. And I thought, well, that's probably a little too big of an aspiration because uh, some of the books that I make, they take hours. So I just didn't want to bog myself down. And then here I'm showing you that the knot is on the inside with that uh, pattern of stitching. And then I thought 100-day challenge, why don't I sketch? Well, I'm already doing a sketch a day challenge. So I thought best not to be too repetitive. So I'm going to be practicing mark making for my 100-day challenge. And it's a lot. Like I think I'm going to film a video probably at the end of quarter 1 where I just talk to you guys about how all the projects are going, like where I am with the journaling systems, things that I've learned so far, um, how the challenges are all going, things I've learned from them, and just kind of catch you guys up and let you know where I am. Now here I'm using that template, the same template that I used to cut out the pages for the signature. I've folded it in half and I'm going to trim down the covers. Now, a couple tips for this is make sure you have a very sharp blade. Another tip is to apply as much pressure as possible to your ruler or your cutting guide to ensure that you don't have any slips, just like that. Now that happened not because of a lack of pressure, but because I had all three inserts stacked on top of each other. I was running out of time when I was filming this. I did have another commitment that day, which is another reason why I'm doing a voiceover, because I wanted to focus on what I was doing and get it done, and not try to have a conversation while I was, working with sharp objects. um, but yeah, so that's another tip. Don't stack individual items because it will cause slipping. Another tip is to make light, repetitive cuts. So you can see my self-healing cutting mat has taken some abuse. I do tend to apply a lot of pressure when I'm cutting. And while that works the most of the time because I have a good amount of experience doing it, it does damage the mat. And then also you risk um, causing uneven cuts to your paper if your blade's not sharp. And what I mean by that is when working with a slightly dull blade, if you push really hard into your paper, it could actually tear the paper. So that's why I always recommend using an incredibly sharp blade, a fresh blade when possible. And I know that that could be kind of a pain to change your blade every time you start a project, but as you see here, mine is not very sharp, and I'm having to go back in and trim a little bit more because it didn't cut as smoothly as it could had it been a new blade. Not to worry, I've since changed it and it cuts like a butter. It's beautiful when it's a new blade. So there we have our first one done. Now we're going to go in and trim up the Kraft one. And the Kraft one does have more because I believe both the Kraft cardstock and the black cardstock are um, a longer. So there I'm just showing that the pages are sticking out slightly on one side. So whenever you're starting to do your cutting and you're using your template, make sure you align the side of your template with whichever side of your notebook the pages are flush with the cover. So anything that's hanging over is what you're going to want to focus on trimming. And when you're sewing, that's why you want to knock your pages and your cover together so that it all goes flush to one side. And I don't bother marking these ends with a pencil or anything because to me it's obvious to see which one is flush and which one's not. But if it's easier for you to mark which one is like the head of the paper, you can definitely do that. Go ahead and do that to make it easier and probably faster for yourself too. What's another tip? So you see me struggling there a little bit with the paper as I'm cutting off. You can prevent that if you flip it and cut it the other way. So I was cutting from the edge of the page to the spine of the book. And if you start cutting at the spine of the book and go like move your blade toward the end of the pages, that'll happen less often. You'll still get some of the paper springing up, but it won't be as bad. And then cutting on a self-healing mat is really helpful, especially when you try to get straight edges. If you don't have one that has ruler marks or a graph on it with a dot grid like mine, you can use a triangle ruler to butt it up against your ruler or your cutting guide and or the edge of your mat. Now there you saw a pretty big slip, and even though I'm using a cork-backed ruler, sometimes you still have slips, and I am applying a lot of pressure. But part of the reason why that happened is because I had that piece of paper that I made the template out of between my ruler and my paper. Kraft usually isn't that slippery, but that paper that I was using for the template is. It's a very light, thin copy paper, and it has a very smooth surface, so that's why that happened. And again, I'm having to trim up because my blade is dull. So there we have the off-white or gray cover and the Kraft cover. And now I'm going to go in and trim the black cardstock cover. And here I'm just checking to see which end is flush. The top end is not flush. You can see the pages are not butted up against it. But another tip for when you're cutting is if you don't have a paper between your ruler and your cover like I do, and you're still concerned about your ruler or blade or book slipping, you can stand up and raise one of your legs. So it's all about balance, right? If you apply the pressure with your hand and you are standing on one leg, you're actually shifting your body weight into the arm that you're pressing your book with, and you're therefore using gravity to add more pressure to whatever you're pressing down on. I know you probably might feel a little weird standing on one foot while you're making your cuts, but it's all in science, folks. You're just using gravity to help you make your cuts. And then, are there any other tips? You could definitely use a paper cutter if you have one. I know that some of the smaller paper cutters for like scrapbooking and whatnot, um, they won't fit. Like your inserts won't fit in there. Like you only have, I'd say, an eighth of an inch or like maybe 5 or 8 pieces of paper that will fit in there. So that might be an issue. But if you have like a heavy duty paper cutter, you could definitely stack all three in it this time, doing that and cut them so that they're all even. But I think I did a pretty good job using the template, making them even. And then for cardstock, you could go to your craft store. You could go to an office store. I got the Kraft cardstock from, I think it was Joann's. It's Park Lane brand. The black cardstock and the white or off-white gray cardstock I actually got from Ollie's Bargain Outlet. We have one close to where I live, and I usually get some paper and other type of stationery goods there. Now what I'm doing is I'm just taking that leather cover that we made together for my geocaching series, and I'm swapping out some of the um, industry or standard inserts that I had put in there to show you how it straightens out with the ones that I made. And I'm just putting it together and so you guys can see that they fit. They're the same size as what I had taken out. And I'm going to leave one of the standard ones in. I have it sandwiched against the other Kraft one. And there you have it. Now our journal is complete with custom inserts and it is ready to use. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will catch you guys in the next one. Please like and subscribe and share. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!